Life sometimes has a way of granting you your wish, and then that wish might come with a hidden cost. What you do with that wish in the moment can determine the fate of millions for generations to come. Today, let's talk about a genuine track and field star. I'm talking about somebody who plays schoolboy cricket and decide knock 6 runs off for the fun of it and then go, you know what I should do? I should go and lead the parish cricket team. Then after that, he decides while doing this to go play football. And no, we're not talking about Usain Bolt. I'm talking about somebody who, after all of that, as a side quest, go, you know what? Let me become prime minister in the process. All right, so boom, imagine this. In the year 1911, there was the Chinese Revolution that overthrew the Qing dynasty. New Delhi became the capital of British India. And there was a first celebration of International Women's Day. And in Jamaica, well, just after New Year's Day, 1911, overlooking the cool hills of St. Elizabeth was William Sangster. Now, he was a land surveyor and a planter. He's surveying the business and with a smile and the usual promise of New Year's resolution. You know, the ones we make where we're going to eat a little less, we're going to work out a little more. That type of resolution that we usually lose after 6 months. Yeah, he made those go home to his darling wife, Cassandra, Theodore, Louise, Plummer. Yeah, got it right. He looked on her after supper and with a smile. Just give it a night. And she would gift a future nation, Jamaica, her second prime minister. Unfortunately, he would be the shortest serving prime minister that Jamaica had. Here we're talking about Sir Donald Sangster. Donald Burns Sangster. His middle name is Burns.
Seriously?
Yeah, go figure. He was born in Black River, St. Elizabeth, in a small town called Mountainside. And what I love about St. Elizabeth when I visit there is that you have the Spurtree Road, long winding road, and you pass the quarry on your right hand side and you take a hairpin turn to go down. And when you also look on your right hand side, you see the plains and the valley of St. Elizabeth. I love it. And some people I know refer to it as Sainty. You get it? Saint-E, Sainty. All right, yeah, moving on. Fun little fact. That was one of the first towns in Jamaica to receive electricity. Now you know something. So you can just imagine, as a boy child, him learning the ropes from his dad and just enjoying the idealistic lifestyle that St. Elizabeth had to offer. So his father being a planter and surveyor back then was no small thing. You know that he would spare no expense in making sure his family was okay. And this included making sure that he got the best of education, because education was seen as riches to the elites, as well as bragging rights. You know how parents stay when it comes to get an education so you can better yourself, that type of thing. So naturally, Donald went to Monroe College, a prestigious school. Before then, it was called Potsdam School. This was a school for boys in St. Elizabeth, as stipulated in the will of the plantation owners, Robert Hugh Monroe and Caleb Dickinson. It should be pointed out that a bunch of notable alumni went there. You're talking about Burchell Whiteman, Orain Barrett, Morris Cargill, Dee Baselwaite, Linda De La Pena, Protege, and of course, Nigel Clark. So that tracks. Big up to Monroe College. If you're an MC old boy, you let me know if I got my facts straight in the comments below. Really would appreciate it. So while attending college, he became so much of a G, he became an all-rounder in sports. Even back then, a lot of people said his character was usually one of being quiet, but you don't know the Jamaican saying, Silent River runs deep. So he actively took part in cricket, football, athletics, and boxing. Boxing. Do you know the basics of boxing? The mental fortitude involved in knowing that you're going to get hit sometime, as well as that you have to land blow. That it has to be far more technical than just what you see in the movies of jab, jab, shift, shift, duck. And the reflexes you have to have. So imagine this. 2 boxers sitting down from the same team, right? And one of them go, so who are you going up against? I'm going up against Burns. So you're talking about the speed from tracks and the footwork and endurance from football. All this while attending Monroe. And if that wasn't enough, he became captain for the St. Elizabeth cricket team for the Nether Soul. Watch me get it wrong. Nether Soul Nether Soul. Cricket competition. You wouldn't believe how many times I had to say Nether Soul to get it right. I mean, those testosterone had to go somewhere. So, you know them country boys, they built different. So he went to Monroe College from 1921 to 1929 doing his thing and being a sports jock. And I can't see any sports jock being unpopular. And he could just settle back there, enjoy that glory, but nope. And I don't know when or how or why. Maybe it's the people he hung around, the guidance from his parents. I don't know how this worked, but somewhere along the line, he develops a taste of the political lifestyle. And then he goes, you know what? I should get into politics.
What?
At age 21. Remember what you were doing at age 21?
Sit down on the corner, joke around and act a fool. The elders playing dominoes, strength is playing pool.
Yeah. So at age 21, 6 years before World War II, he was elected to the parish council in St. Elizabeth. So if you don't know, being a parish councillor involved many things. It would include representing the people in your parish and responsible for the well-being of your community. Parish councils can provide and equip buildings for public meeting, functions, clubs, or society. A matter of fact, parish councils can make bylaw for open spaces, burial ground, recreation ground, cycle park, mortuaries. So next time somebody asks you to vote for them in the parish council election, you should know this is what they're responsible for, and these are the questions you should ask. So Donald was admitted to practice as a solicitor in Jamaica in 1937 when he was 26 years old. He became vice chairman of the St. Elizabeth Parochial Board in 1941. So clearly this man was driven, and young ambition is very admirable. So on a side note, I don't know if you get it from now, but Burns didn't know the meaning of have a few things you involved to it.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, he was a member of the Man in Home Advisory Committee, the East and the West St. Elizabeth School Board, the director of the Jamaica Vegetable Limited. He also played a prominent role in the St. Elizabeth Scouts. Now, I was part of the Scouts. You can consider them like cadet light. Fun fact, I was also part of the cadets. He was also a member of the Monroe and Dickinson Trust, the Black River Drainage and Irrigation Board, Board of Governors of the Institute of Jamaica. I mean, this man was everywhere. Everywhere? Everywhere. I guess having massive ambition can be advice for anyone, but it's a double-edged sword. Sometimes you need clarity, some setback, and adversity usually shows up the real person. And in his case, it was his turn. In 1944, he contested but lost the South St. Elizabeth seat in a general election. He ran as an independent, and this was a general election under the new constitution that granted universal adult suffrage. He lost by less than 300 votes. Now, universal adult suffrage is a political concept that refers to the extension of voting rights to all citizens above the age of the majority. In most countries, this means that anyone who has reached the age of 18 can vote in national elections or other public elections. Imagine you're applying for your very first dream job. No affiliation, under a new constitution, and you lost.
Emotional, damn it!
From boxing reference, this was his first technical knockout politically. But his fortune would change. He would join the House of Representatives 5 years later when he ran again for the South St. Elizabeth seat under the banner of the JLP in 1949. That same year, he was elected chairman of the St. Elizabeth Parochial Board. From there, he becomes a mini rising star. He then went on to become Minister of Labour and then later on Minister of Finance. Sounds familiar? No? Okay then. Sir Donald steadily continued to build his political career, going on to become JLP first deputy leader in 1950 and serving as Minister of Social Welfare from 1950 to 1953. By this time, the boxer in him had to be summoned again. He was Minister of Finance from 1953 to 1955, and then the JLP lost the general election and he lost his seat in South St. Elizabeth. But later that year, he successfully contested a by-election for the Northeast Clarendon constituency in December 1955. This win was by a narrow margin too, so there's that. So in the span of 7 years, Jamaica got a new dream, a new hope, a plan to charter its own destiny. Also in 1962, the JLP returned to the office, and Sir Donald was reappointed as Minister of Finance and House Leader, and was subsequently appointed as Deputy Prime Minister. He relinquished his post as House Leader in 1966. So basically, he was a seasoned politician, no amateur right here. Sir Donald accompanied the Right Honourable Sir Alexander Bustamante to the Commonwealth Prime Minister's Conference in London in 1962. Tall, stately and quiet, you may easily underestimate what vision he might have for the country. On a side note, do you think that any prime minister comes into power in our country and go, you know what, let me destroy the country? He attended a conference as Sir Alexander's representative in 1964, where he was appointed to act as prime minister as a result of Sir Alexander falling ill. So technically, he was in charge for 3 years. While acting as Prime Minister, he retained the post of Minister of Finance, and he also acted as Minister of External Affairs and Minister of Defense. So as acting Prime Minister, he attended the Minister Conference in London 65 and Lagos 1966. Talk about busy. Sir Donald distinguished himself as an outstanding leader who advanced Jamaica's visibility in the international arena. He is perhaps best remembered for his work to have Jamaica accepted in all major international organizations such as the UN, the World Bank, and the International Monetary Fund, and leader of Jamaica's delegation to the Commonwealth Economic Consultative Council Conference in 1951 and in 1963 to 1966. We literally had Usain Bolt of Prime Minister right here, highlighting Jamaica, breaking records, and putting Jamaica on the map. He established Jamaica as a nation of sound financial integrity and a leader of the new nations in the Commonwealth and the Caribbean. We need to appreciate the figurehead that Sir Alexander Bustamante was to the realization and the dream of having Jamaica, a young nation, being independent. Behind the scenes, however, Sangster was a muscle, the economic visionary, quietly carrying out the role of business leadership in government without the fanfare. He got the job done. They let the work speak for themselves. Following the victory of the JLP in the general election again in February 21, 1967, winning 33 out of 53 seats, the PNP only took 20 seats then, and the resignation of Sir Alexander Bustamante, Sir Donald was appointed Prime Minister on February 22nd, 1967, still retaining the posts of Minister of Finance and Minister of Defense. There are many stories about the transition of power, and you can ask your parents about it, or you can check historians or books about it. But let's say it wasn't the smoothest of transition, and from then on, that's where things went south. So imagine this. You have completed your cabinet. You now have the mantle to now lead your young nation into a bright and prosperous future. You have a vision. You have the experience. On the 23rd of February, 1967, you have one meeting and then you fell ill. Now, medical technology isn't what it was 10 years ago compared to now. And then you can just imagine 50 years ago, it was like vastly different. So because of all of this, there was rumor abound about what really happened. On the 18th of March 1967, Donald Sangster was flown by the US government to the Montreal Neurological Institute for specialist treatment. Try as they might, and even with all the prayers of an infant nation, it didn't look good. He went into a coma a few weeks later on April the 1st, and while Donald Sangster was critically ill in the Montreal hospital, he was knighted at Buckingham Palace by Queen Elizabeth II in a ceremony. The side quest completed. He died 10 days later. At the time of his death, Sir Donald was 55 years old. Well, 55 years and 6 months, to be exact. In general, it was said that he was viewed favorably by the majority of the country. Sometimes one is left wondering, in another space, in another time, if he was still alive and he was left to complete his term, where would the country be? A little known fact about him, he was actually the one who drove the construction of the second airport in Montego Bay, the Sir Donald Sangster International Airport, and still to this day, it's the largest airport in the Caribbean. Even rarer is the fact that Sir Donald acted as giveaway father to Gladys Longbridge when she married the then Prime Minister, Sir Alexander Bustamante. The only other Prime Minister ever to receive knighthood from Queen Elizabeth II is, Sir Alexander Bustamante. The Sir sort of give it away. Being a silent giant means that sometimes when you speak, you can share profound insight. And he was no different. He had a quote that was epic, and it goes something like this. Power is like fire, a good servant but a bad master, and the misuse of power is one of the greatest faults of any government. Indeed, it is a crime against the people. So from most accounts, he sounded like truly one of the great knights from back then in storybooks, what was told in fables, one that deemed Jamaica worthy of defending, to fight to the very end, to protect, to hope, to cherish, to nourish, and to raise up. He had a bar that he set that others should follow. So let me know your thoughts in the comment sections, because one, I would love to learn, and this is history. This is how I want to see history be shared. Things about Jamaica that we need to know. So Sir Donald Sangster is more than just what is shared on a $5,000 bill or on a $100 bill. So now you know the story of one of the greatest prime minister Jamaica ever had. And we only have had 9. So until then, my friends, take care, walk good, be gentle to yourself, and see you next time. Like, subscribe, and share it, because there's so much more to come. So until then, my friends, one love.